Um, so raise your hand if you or someone you know has owned one of these or often wears one of these pairs of shoes. 1, 2, 3, a good 80 to 90% of you. Wow, most of you in this room. So you might be wondering, Kelvin, how do you get from this to this? So it started one day, one Saturday, I think. I was walking through a mall, and I happened to come across these pairs of shoes. And these really caught my eye, and I thought they looked pretty nice, so I purchased them, and Monday morning I came to school excited, wearing them on my feet, all laced up. And I walked through the hallways. I was excited to walk into my cafeteria. And so, I was expecting a lot of compliments like, oh, thank you, But in reality, what I got was, when I walked up to my friend group, I got, what are those? What are you wearing? Like, why do you have overcooked chicken on your feet? And, they got me on the last one. But it turns out that after this happened, after this Monday, I didn't come to wear these shoes for 2 to 3 weeks after, just because I was scared of what others would think. And in doing so, I conformed unto the societal norm of that social group, of my group of friends. So even though this was a pretty humorous, pretty lighthearted situation, there are times where conforming unto societal norms and expectations could result in much higher and greater impact. So in my research, I questioned, what causes us humans to conform unto societal norms and expectations. So here it is. Mirror neurons in our brain are in charge of mimicking and empathizing with other humans. And mirror neurons are located primarily, they're scattered around the brain. They're located in the frontal, parietal, and temporal parts of our brain, which coincidentally or not so coincidentally are in charge of our language and motor skills. And this helps us copy what other people around us are doing in order to join a group or conform. And these neurons are primarily found in primates and humans, and this is where the term monkey see, monkey do is coined. So these neurons are in charge of empathizing, but they're also in charge of subconscious emotional contagion. What does this mean? This means that the behaviors or emotions of others can be reflected in us. Or in other words, we could be contagious with emotions. And this means if we were to walk into a group with everyone happy, although we ourselves could be feeling a different way, sad, unhappy, we mimic what everyone else in the group is doing, and we subdue what we really feel. And this contagion is primarily found in minorities, in the minority walking into majority. So in April of 1967, history teacher Ron Jones decided, he questioned why people would betray their moral compasses in order to follow the fascist government of Hitler. And in order to answer this question, he devised a high school experiment where he created his own fascist government out of his students labeled as the Wave. So one Monday morning, the students walked in, and on the board, he had these 3 mottos written: strength through discipline, strength through community, and strength through action. And what this entitled was, students would come to class, sit down, be completely silent, and every time they talked, they would end their sentence with, yes, sir, when talking to Mr. Jones. And what started to be a one-day thing ended up lasting weeks and even months. It came to a point where not only kids from different classes and grades, but kids from different schools would come on afternoons just to be part of this group, and they would come and join the wave, this classroom experiment. And it came to a point where the high school teacher, Mr. Jones, he saw it was getting out of hand, so finally he made a final reunion with all the members of the wave to reveal the dictator of the group. And when he pulled off the curtain to show the screen, it ended up being a film of Adolf Hitler giving a speech. And these children, these young teenagers were torn. They're questioning how they could do such a thing. And, how does this relate to conformity? Well, these teens would follow this group even though it had certain terms that they did not agree with, but they followed it just to be part of this big group, because they were scared of not fitting in. And a lot of them that didn't want to join initially, they joined because everyone else was in it, so why not? And in order to, what this teacher learned was, in order to solve this problem, in order to not fall into the traps of conformity into societal norms and expectations, we have to betray our natural instinct to conform into society and betray our mirror neurons. So a great example of someone who betrayed their natural instincts to conform was MLK. And he stood up for the minority even when everyone else was against him, and he stood up when the world needed him the most. He stood up for the truth, and at the end, the truth did prevail. And there's this famous quote from MLK: "If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But by all means, keep moving." MLK kept moving in the fight against racism, and he kept moving even though he was in the minority, and even though there were so many people opposing him, and at the end, the truth did prevail. So, I'm here in front of you, in front of this crowd, and probably on YouTube, talking, I'm talking to you, and I'm in these shoes that everyone called ugly initially. However, it's through these individuals that do things that society calls and labels as crazy that change is brought to our world. So I want you in the audience and everyone listening to this, I want you guys and girls and everyone else to be this individual that does a change. Be this person. Be the person that stands out in the crowd. Be the person that stands up for someone in need. Be the person that stands up for something that they want to stand up for, the truth, even if everyone else opposes them. And be that person that defies their natural instinct to conform to society and does everything they possibly can in order to make a difference in this world. Because if it's not through us, then through who? If it's not now, then when? Thank you.